Do you want to learn effective ways to build relationships, generate sales, and grow your business from successful entrepreneurs, startups, and CEOs without listening to a long interview? If so, you've come to the right place. Gresham Harkless values your time and is ready to share with you precisely the information you're in search of. This is the I Am CEO podcast.
Hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Trish Simitakos of Trish Star Events. Trish, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Super excited to have you on. And what I want to do is just read a little bit more about Trish so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Trish is the owner of Trish Star Events, a boutique event planning agency based in the Washington, D.C. area, which provides planning, design, management, and production services. She launched TSE in 2014 after more than 15 years in the events and hospitality industry. She was recently named Planner Extraordinaire on Northstar Meetings Group list of top 25 influencers in the industry for 2019. And her goal is that you should love your event as much as you love the reason for it, and has built a reputation for being the event planner that other event professionals hire. Trish, are you ready to speak to the I Am CEO community?
Absolutely. Fire away.
Let's make it happen. So I wanted to kick everything off and hear a little bit more about what I call your CEO story and what led you to get started with your business.
Well, it's kind of a funny one because it's both direct with a lot of sort of twists and turns, right? But I think that a lot of people have a very similar, story where, my first business was, in my teen years, right? Where whether that, it was like selling candy bars for the school or, Avon or, whatever it is you're doing when you're a teenager and you think that, I want to launch a business. So I'm going to sell t-shirts or whatever you're doing. So I caught that taste for entrepreneurship very early in my career decision-making, realm, that time period where you're sort of making those decisions for yourself. But, as I grew older and had responsibilities and bills to pay and a mortgage, I went to work for American Express. I went to work for Intercontinental. I decided that what I really needed was a foundation. If being, an event planner was going to be my goal, not that a whole lot of people follow the same formula. I just felt I needed to follow that formula. I needed to have a certain list of criteria met, a certain list of skills that I've developed so that when I hit the ground, I hit the ground running. I didn't want to get out there and put my name on something that was going to be, sub-superior, by my own qualifications. So, right. And that's what led me here.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate the entire process, because I think a lot of times, especially like when you're starting a business or even starting anything new, you kind of, it helps to have that kind of guideline on how to do it. And I think, you reach true mastery when you're able to do that, but then also to kind of tweak it and make it your own as you start to evolve and get more comfortable with it. And it kind of sounds like that's what happened with you.
It did. It was kind of a little bit of a shock to the system when I did finally launch my business, because I realized, now keep in mind, I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, but I'm originally from the New York area. So I was in Manhattan, building my career there. I went to Miami for a few years. And each of these large markets, you did not become a planner. You did not hang your shingle on that door until you were a very established name, or you did have this sort of broader background, or at least you didn't become a good one. But it was when I moved to DC that I realized my career has a very low barrier of entry. You really can be anybody who just woke up today and be like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Right. Then there's no requirement of certification. There's no requirement of skill or knowledge. You really can just wake up and say, this is what I want to do. And in some instances that works, because some of these girls work really hard to get up to speed very quickly. Right. But then it creates a situation where I kind of look back at my background like, oh, did I need to spend the 15 years? But I can tell you it was well worth it. Like 5 years into the game, I have a depth of understanding and can speak to the industry in a way that, maybe someone with a shorter, ramp up or lead in cannot. And so I think it just all depends on what you want from it. I wanted to be someone who, was known as an authority or a leader in this industry. And you can only do that through mastery. Yeah. And you can only get mastery through experience. So, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And I think so many times we forget that. And of course, there's definitely, value in, learning and be able to take courses and things like that. But it's really hard to skip over the time that it takes to
Yeah.
really be a master at your craft. And I think that mastery of, the industry and whatever you're doing and all the nuances of that is one thing. Also mastery of yourself and understanding like what works for you, how best,
Yeah.
those things kind of take time in order to evolve. And it's great to, that you have that experience. You've been able to lean on that and to build it and to grow that and make it develop your business. So I definitely appreciate that. So I know you touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to hear a little bit more on like how you work with clients. Could you take us through like kind of that process generally and what you usually do?
So generally speaking, what I tell people about hiring a planner specifically, or hiring any event professional, is you're gonna hire someone based on one of two desired end results. You either are looking for a specific look and you're willing to pay whatever price that is, or premium, or do whatever it needs to be done to get that specific look. Or you have something else in mind. You have a look in your mind. You have this concept or idea, and you need someone to extract that and work with you, and make that happen. And there's no real wrong way to do it, right? Because that leads to this sort of strong divide in event vendors, who really there are planners out there who develop a look, and they're kind of like the interior designers, or like the couture people of the industry,
Right.
excuse me, where they've developed the look. The look is their look. They know how the look works. They know how it's going to be priced. They know how long it's going to take to blow it in. They know the ins and outs of that. But you're not going to hire the girl who focuses on, Parisian pink, frilly, lace and pearls, to do country rustic bohemian with chickens and goats.
Right.
Like that's two people. That's not going to be in her wheelhouse.
Right.
So in that case, what you really need to do is focus on hiring people who can work with your custom vision.
Right.
And so that's what I do, is I sit with my client, I determine, and I kind of work from backwards to the beginning. That's my first question, is at the end of the day, if this is your event, this is your gala, this is your wedding, this is your company party. Clients have walked out, your guests have walked out, your attendees have walked out. What do you want them to take away from that experience? Did you want them to say, wow, that was really spectacular? Did you want them to walk away with a particular message? Did you want them to feel inspired? What is the goal of gathering all these people, on this particular day? And then we build backwards from there. Then we say, okay, you wanted them to feel like this was your wedding day and they walked into a garden and they had, the following menu. It becomes an easier process when you can work backwards from there. And you can definitely identify a lot of gaps easier in that process, rather than kind of starting with like, so tell me about your vision.
Right.
Well, if you start vision first, that's the thing is, at least from my process, if you start vision first, or generalized vision first, without getting to that end result, you get really caught up in the vision.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
So if we focus on the result, if we focus on what you want to see at the end of your vision, we can adjust from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, because a lot of it is like Stephen Covey's, begin with the end in mind. From the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you always want to make sure that you begin with the end in mind, because a lot of times you're doing that event, and as I said when I introduced you as well too, usually there's something that you want to get from that. So that's really where everything else kind of pours from. So if you're able to kind of have that North Star when every decision that you make, it kind of sounds like it helps you to kind of bounce it back against that, just to make sure that's in alignment.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. And the types of events that you do, is it all ranging, or is there specific types that you try to focus on?
My events tend to either be the social events, so the weddings, bar mitzvahs, parties, or corporate with a social cause. Okay. So I don't really take on events that's going to be like a dry trade show, or just something that's super corporate, or super aligned with like a very processed look and feel about it. When I take on the corporate, I'll do maybe like a branding activation or a gala. Most recently, one of my clients was DC Podfest. So that was, almost like 200 people, and they all gathered together to hear speakers, and it was a fun, yes, it was corporate. Yes, it was this sort of event that was corporate in nature, but it
Mhm.
just kind of felt like a big group of people getting together and having a
Right.
good time, so I tend to take on those events.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and I definitely, you don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of sounds like there's a lot more of a that results, that reason why
Right.
is a little bit more a part of it than having that kind of cookie cutter. Okay, the flowers go here, the balloons go here. It's more of like, this is exactly what you want to see result wise, so this is how we're going to be able to make that happen.
Right. And that really is why, when I say, my goal is that you love your event for as much as you love the reason for it.
Mhm.
Let's get to that reason. Why are you putting this on? Did you put on a DC Podfest because you're kind of like, this would seem like a really good idea today? No, it's because you really love podcasting and
Right.
you wanted to create this event that brought all these people together to hear from other incredible people in the industry. So,
Yeah.
once you start there, everything else is an easy decision, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like that experience is something that you want to make sure that you capture well. So I definitely appreciate you for doing that. So you might have already touched on this, but I wanted to ask you for what I call your secret sauce. And this is for you personally or for your business, but what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
For me, it's the level of service, right? Like I hear it all the time. And I should backtrack a little bit.
Hmm.
I say that because it's something that has been bounced to me from my clients. When I ask them, or what I hear from them repeatedly is, I'm very responsive. That I give them a level of service that they don't really find anywhere. Um, you know, Before I started my business, I worked in catering, and really in the first year out of catering, I booked north of $2 million worth of business. It was like $2.5 million for the
Nice.
business, which for someone just starting in the catering industry or having just started with that company was pretty much unheard of. But
Hmm.
when people ask me about that, and people ask me about the success I have here today and why I have clients that book with me, 10 and 15 years. I mean, I have clients from my American Express days. I have clients
Oh,
from
nice.
years in the past. And it all boils down to that. It's like, they know they're going to call me. They know they're going to get a response. They're going to get an honest answer. And they're going to get the information that they need to get when they need to get it, because I value their business, and
Yeah.
I value their dollar, like I value my own money,
Hmm.
and I keep telling people that no matter, it doesn't really matter to me how much money you spend on anything, that and any particular element, because I'm going to respect that if you only have $50 to spend on something or $500,000 to spend on something, that both things should be respected. And you're hiring me to guide you to the best decision on how to spend that money. So, I think people gravitate towards that.
Definitely appreciate that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want
Sure.
to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I like stalking people. I like doing a deep dive into other
Hmm.
people's businesses,
Hmm.
especially if I don't like you. Like if I don't like you, then I'm doing a real deep dive into your business.
Right.
Because clearly there's something about there is something about what you're doing that is really just twisting my arm, in a very bad way,
Right.
and I want to find out what that is.
Nice. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be like a word of wisdom or piece of advice, or if you can hop into a time machine, what would you tell your younger business self?
Don't necessarily believe the hype. The hype isn't just because there's hype around something doesn't mean there's magic around that something.
Exactly. Absolutely. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Trisha, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think being a CEO means to me freedom, and not just financial freedom or freedom of time, but freedom of thought, freedom of creation.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Trish, I truly appreciate that definition. Appreciate your time even more. What I want to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Fabulous. Thank you. I think just like as a final thought to people, is just keep going. You're going to get, I'm sure you've heard it before. You'll hear it again. You'll hear it out of me. You're going to get 1,000 no's before you get that one yes. You might get 1,000,000 no's before you get that one yes. But that's all it takes is that one yes. So you just have to keep going. You have to, and if you get if you stumble across a certain skill or path or something and you find yourself really struggling, reach out to the people that have done it in the way or have been in your mind successful at doing whatever that is, and ask them for the help. again, not everyone's going to be kind to you. They don't have to be, but someone will be. There will be someone who out there who's like, yeah, you know what? I got 5 minutes this week. Let me show you how to do this. I have a couple minutes. Let's grab a coffee. There will be people out there. You just have to keep going until you get to those people, and just keep swimming. That's it. Keep your head above water. And if people want to reach me, they can definitely reach out through any of my social media feeds. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is Trish Star Events. And my website, of course, is trishstarevents.com. And you can always email me. It's ts@trishstarevents.com. Be happy to, try and, help as many people as I can. Just not during busy season. Do not call me at Friday at 2 p.m. That is the worst for any wedding planner ever in existence. That's my nugget. Don't call wedding planners on a Friday. And but otherwise it's good.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And what we'll do is we'll definitely have those links and information in the show notes so that everybody can follow up with you, and make sure not to call at 2 p.m. on Tuesday for sure, especially during busy season. So
right.
Yes, but I appreciate the words of wisdom as well too, of keeping going. I think sometimes we forget, like, the way sometimes to be successful is just to continue to keep going, even if we have to crawl, even if we're not walking as briskly as we would hope. A lot of times it's just keeping going throughout the good and bad times that help us to be successful. So appreciate that word of wisdom, and appreciate your time again. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for listening to the I Am CEO podcast, powered by Blue 16 Media. Tune in next time and visit us at IAM554.co. I Am CEO is not just a phrase, it's a community. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Grab CEO gear at www.ceogear.co. This has been the I Am CEO podcast with Gresham Harkless. Thank you for listening.